Aquablood, we have the grand finals match going forward. That's all that's left before we can determine who will win the entire event.
So this is it now. Thijs can carry on his streak, or StanCifka can make a new chapter in his Hearthstone career. This is what we've been building towards over the last 3 days. 2 players left, $6,000, a big trophy as well.
Right. The bragging rights, of course, right? I mean, StanCifka wins. It's not just the first place that he needs to. He's been coveting that for a while now, but that's not just it. He gets to stop Thijs dead in his tracks as far as the hot streak has been going on. I mean, if Thijs takes this, then he still maintains it going into BlizzCon, but otherwise, a little bit of a stop to it.
Yeah, StanCifka has what he needs to finish Thijs off and take that win. You know, he's been playing exceptionally well throughout the whole week. Thijs, on the other hand, is another person who's kind of just been flawless for the whole tournament. StanCifka's had a few bumps in his road, but let's see if he's learned from him. Let's see if he can take the win.
Right, I mean, he did win a lot. I think it's been an uphill battle for him recently. I mean, he had to go through the bottom of the loser's bracket, climb all the way back, win the tiebreaker with a convincing score, forcefully, because anything else wouldn't have done. So StanCifka has been doing just an amazing job of it. He has the most unconventional lineup we've seen in the event. On the other end, Thijs has what we expected to see in a patron ban metagame. So definitely both at very opposite ends of how they approach the entire event, yet they're meeting the grand finals.
Yeah, Thijs' lineup has actually beaten StanCifka, so Stan will have that in the back of his mind. But Thijs took some risks when he got those wins with the aggro decks, and you do. When you play aggro, you do need to take these risks to try and get the wins on stuff like handlock. You can't always play around like Molten Giants and stuff, especially if you have to play to the strength to your hand. StanCifka's handlock is a big talking point, I think, of kind of his downfall. It's kind of fell short quite a few times, whereas his control warrior has been amazing. What about Thijs' lineup? What do you think really stands out from him?
I mean, I think Thijs overall is playing the more aggressive lineup, right? Like, the handlock from Stan is a bit of a weakness because it's not guaranteed to be facing off against Patron, against which is the strongest. And that's kind of where the aggressive lineup from Thijs comes and exploits that, right? He's playing the Hunter, he's playing the Mage, he's playing the Paladin. StanCifka will be banning, as has been typical of him, the Hunter, to make sure that nothing he plays gets punished. He did mention he was very greedy with his list, and none of these decks do exceptionally well against Hunter. However, the Patron, it's kind of an easy win for him.
And banning a Hunter's been his consistent plan, and it's worked out for him, I guess, because he is in the grand finals, even though he had a few losses during the group stages. Banning the Hunter has proved its consistency. As for Thijs, banning the Mage, everyone's been doing it since he first played it. We talked about that. It's got a 100% win ratio in this tournament, this Mage.
Yeah, it played one game and won the game, and never again have we seen it. The duplicate was too much for people to handle, and now we will go back to one of the classics of Hearthstone, the Handlock versus Zoo matchup. But StanCifka with a twist. You know, he's cut a Healbot. He has 2 big game Hunters. He's been making cuts left and right. He has the 2 defenders of Argus. Obviously, an anti-patron tech. I want to have all the taunters I can, force him to run out of executes. Less powerful against a Zoo player, but there's a Mal'Ganis.
Those owls keep finding their way into his hand. I think every game he has an owl. Even if he doesn't want it, it just finds its way into Mulligan.
He's got 2, and you know, the Sea Giant from Thijs is also another good target for StanCifka's big game Hunter. I did not consider that. It's another way for him to get value out of a card that otherwise, in a matchup like this one, shouldn't necessarily have any impact.
The view ties his hand here. He has a lot of threats to go into the later game. Nothing to really start putting pressure on StanCifka. On the flip side, StanCifka doesn't really have much going into turn 4 just yet. He's going to need to tap and find those giants, those Twilight Drakes, to start putting pressure on those smaller minions, which Thijs may or may not draw into.
Yeah, the StanCifka right now is a little worried that he can't remove the board efficiently, right? There's no Hellfire, there's no Dark Bomb. The double Mortal Coil, if a Knife Juggler comes out on turn 2, he will be able to handle it at least somewhat well. The problem with that, of course, is that he surrenders his ability to life tap. He shrinks his hand substantially, which means, as a result, the Twilight Drakes, the Mountain Giants are a lot worse.
So he passes in, nothing going to come down. Of course, it is Handlock. He does finally find another minion to play. Argent Squire, not really what you want. The one with Divine Shield's not going to do a lot of work. It can kill owls. That's about it, really.
Right. Thijs, though, I mean, the tapping here makes a lot of sense. He's got a very weak hand, and playing it on turn 3, the Argent Squire, basically all you're denying yourself by doing so is losing the 1 damage that you would have gotten from playing it a turn earlier. So here Thijs, by life tapping, gets himself faster to a 2-drop, that he can play alongside the Squire. So his curve is a little bit better that way, and not live tapping would have been a crazy mistake.
Void Caller does get to StanCifka's hand. He has the Mal'Ganis sitting there ready for it as well. So he does have the opportunity to coin out that, and this will challenge the Void Caller, Void Walker. So many Void cards. Void Walker, Void Caller, Void
The
Terror.
Void Ganis, I mean the Void Guard, right? The Void Imp, there's everything.
Yeah.
All the voids.
Pesky voids. But yeah, this is going to be able to challenge the minions from Tyz here. And of course, Dart Bomb and Mortal Coil sitting in the back there, ready in case he needs them.
So here, there's no chance for Tyz to get himself a Sea Giant, right? Because if he does get a 4 on Implosion, it's still not enough. There will only be 7 minions on this side, and he would need to be able to hit 8, which means he would have to be able to sacrifice the Spider prior to that, which he can't do. So he'll at least set up a board that allows him to have as many minions on the board as he can. StanCifka is guaranteed to get himself the Mal'Ganis here, though.
Here we go, Mal'Ganis comes down. I bet Tyz wished it was in his side of the field with all those imps.
And where's the Hellfire when you need it, right? I think this is still perfectly fine for StanCifka. Gets himself a big threat that otherwise he might not have expected to get, and with the Mortal Coils he can trim down the amount of minions on the board, reducing the value of a Sea Giant, and assuming even then the Sea Giant came out.
He gets a free tap as well for no health, finds the Sun Fury as well, so he can taunt up when he feels threatened. But these Mortal Coils are going to go really nicely, not into cycling his deck, but like you said, relieving pressure from StanCifka.
I mean, maybe there's an argument for an Iron Beak Owl on the Creeper, but I don't think it's necessary. StanCifka, with the hand he's got, has what it takes to handle what Tyz has to throw his way. However, after that Big Game Hunter is used up on the Sea Giant or Dr. Boom, he will start scrambling maybe. You know, he doesn't have a Shadow Flame to go with Molten. He'll have to... It'll be an even battle.
Well, yeah. Even to an extent, I suppose. I mean, StanCifka has so many more bigger threats than Tyz, but Tyz very much relies on the early game aggression, which he really hasn't had because he's kind of had some of the weaker minions, and he had a very slow start with the Void. You want to get those flame imps, you want to get those knife jugglers, those in-game bosses, right. But he never got them. He's got all these 1/1s which just play into these Mortal Coils.
And the hilarious part here is that if you want to kill Mal'Ganis, you have to sacrifice your Doom Guard to do so. And if you play the Doom Guard, you're losing all your big threats going into the turn 6, 7, 8, 9. Like everything you want to keep, you can't keep. So maybe Tyz will find a way out of this. For now, I feel like his options are very limited.
So if he pops up with his Creeper, he can play the Sea Giant.
I mean, technically, I guess you can go Knife Juggler into Pop the Creeper. Right, that will mean you have a total of... Yeah, the Giant will cost you 4. You still don't have enough. You'd be missing 1 mana.
You might use... No, it looks like he's going to tap here, actually. He might have used the Giant there to just put some pressure on the Mal'Ganis, but Ink Grand Boss is going to have to do it.
Wow.
All these demons...
it slowly here, Tyz. Not in the best spot in the world, for sure.
All these little demons looking up at their lord, standing in front of him.
I do not attack you. Yeah, I mean, after all, he is a turtle, and I would not attack a turtle.
He's a turtle?
That's what he says when he comes in, right?
Oh, okay.
You've never heard that? Oh my god, Aquablood.
It's kind of like...
We need to educate you with those Dennis and Turtle references.
I know the shaman, right? Let the elephants destroy you?
Yeah, the elephants will destroy you. This guy's toast.
This guy's toast, yeah.
The turtle. I am a turtle.
The turtle and the Dennis are new ones to me. Yeah, I need to go through kind of educational Hearthstone.
I mean, educational is a way to put it. I don't think Reddit exactly has the most educational subreddit for Hearthstone. Shots fired, of course, but I do frequent it, so it's a self-directed shot as well.
So another threat comes down, another 8/8 that Tyz has to kind of punch through. And now Mal'Ganis can do what he wants here, really. He could go phased, he can start clearing. In-game boss looks like a really good target here, but now Mal'Ganis can be cleared. But he's done his job, he's slowed down Tyz.
Yeah, and now Tyz picks up an amazing card to go with what he's got. Knife Juggler with Abusive Sergeant allows him to kill the Mal'Ganis, but look at that. The Sea Giant is coming a little bit too late to handle the Mountain Giant. He's going to get the initiative as far as dealing with that. Of course, Tyz, just by playing the Sea Giant, is forcing StanCifka to trade his own Giant if he wants. But then again, he's also overextending into Shadow Flame. A little scary here.
And Big Game Hunter is still a threat as well. 2 of them in StanCifka's deck. And we got one in hand with a Dart Bomb, so he can even clear up the Knife Juggler if he wants to.
Nice hit right there. Now you're going to have to lose an Imp, Tyz, in order to play the Giant afterwards. Otherwise, it won't be possible.
Unless he values his Haunted Creeper more.
Maybe there's a good reason, maybe there's a reasoning that makes it so you don't play I mean, you don't sacrifice the creeper? I can't imagine so. It sounds a little weird. Maybe if the knife hits perfectly.
No knives to face is always a good thing as well, especially with Mal'Ganis there. So Mal'Ganis finally goes down, and all those knives hit the giant.
Yeah, Thijs is worried about just about anything, really. The only reason to maybe attack the giant here is if you think he's going to use it to trade into anything but your 8/8. Not a very realistic proposition. And StanCifka, without any AoE, he did make the cut. He's got 1 Hellfire, 1 Shadow Flame, no more than that. So he's going to have to work with what he's got, and that is not exactly a lot at the moment.
1 Shadow Flame would have been enough here. Shadow Flame would have been incredible because all the knives hit the giant, so he didn't take any face damage, and he could just do a full board wipe and keep the big game hunter ready for that Dr. Boom or Mal'Ganis that's going to come up later.
Exactly.
Do you get to tap here?
If I'm StanCifka, I might consider using my giant to trade into the 8/8 and maybe play something like the Drake, right, with the Sunfury Protector. Of course, it's not amazing, but at the same time, I get a feeling that BGH is feeding into nothing but the 2-1 here. So the giant is not accomplishing much past this point. On 4 health, his life is effectively over.
I know, he's taken half his damage here. He's lost a lot of his value here, so trading, like you said, is very efficient here. But Big Game Hunter's going to come down here. Still wants to keep a hold of this giant Dart Bomb, as I thought. You know, kill that.
He would have to kill it. He has to either kill the abusive here if he wants to prevent the death from the BGH, or he's forcing Thijs to just trade away every single thing.
Which might happen here.
Yeah, I mean,
Dr. Boom's going to come down.
I'm sure Thijs is happy to have seen at least one Big Game Hunter after this. StanCifka does not quite have the ability to play the Moltens yet. I think this might be a decent turn for StanCifka to use the Emperor Thorson. Or do you think it's too risky, perhaps?
Emperor Thorson wouldn't be too bad. I guess he reduces the cost of the Sun Fury, the Moltens even more. Double Drake as well. He can really set up a big taunt wall in the future when some more health is lost from StanCifka when Thijs starts swinging. I mean, you kind of open yourself up to being hit as well if you play the Emperor. He might trade, you might find some other ways to deal with it, and that might be the opportunity you have to start slamming these Molten Giants down.
Right, you need to get a double Molten Giant turn is exactly what he's going for here, exactly. I like it.
Double Doom Guard, so clunky.
Yeah, can't play one without losing the other in this case, unless you take a gamble on the discard. Maybe you play Doom Guard first, you surrender the Knife Juggler, you know you don't want to play it, you hope it gets discarded, and if it does get discarded, then all you've really lost you know, is either Doom Guard or Mal'Ganis. So you get to follow it up with something good, and that way Doom Guard kills the Emperor and you can go face for 9 with your big doctor.
But do you want to take him down that low? That's the question.
Yeah, that's maybe you just don't attack with Boom. Maybe you play Life Tap Doom Guard.
Oh, Abusive Sergeant's going to let his bombs trade in a little bit more efficiently here.
Very good card, very good card.
So if the knife hits the Emperor as well, that'd be great.
There's a disaster scenario where nothing works out, but this is not it. This is a scenario where things work out. Where things work out pretty well.
Does Dr. Boom attack? Does he just go for it? Double Doom Guard, he might just consider it. No, he holds back. So next turn, he does have he's almost got lethal.
I mean, StanCifka could go for the Lotheb Defensive Argus play. I feel like making the Molten Giants played with Defensive Argus would be a lot better overall. One of the plays you might consider is use maybe the Twilight Drake with Lotheb and the Sun Fury, and wait until he's low enough on health to go double Molten Defender. That's giving him a wall with 5/5 and a big Twilight Drake. It's enough to prevent the power overwhelming spam, and then from there he can reevaluate on the following turn.
Yeah, I like that actually. Twilight Drake Lotheb locks out stuff like Power Overwhelming, Implosion. That could really hurt that taunt wall. Makes Thijs deal with it quite honestly. And then after that gets dealt with, you have the big Molten Giant taunt wall coming down the following turn.
Well, he does pick up an alternative to Lotheb here by having the Ancient Watcher. I'm sure he was digging for a Hellfire or Shadow Flame of sorts. He's getting the biggest Drake possible. Again, he can opt to go for the Ancient Watcher. Is he just dead? Oh no, he's going to taunt up the Owl. Alright. What a little annoying little minion.
Interesting, not as straightforward as, say, just slamming minions down and taunting them out. StanCifka seems to have another plan.
Yeah, well, I mean, I like the plan because silencing the Juggler means that 2-1 has to be attacked into, which means either the Abusive Sergeant attacks it, or the Knife Juggler. There's no way the Juggler wants to, so I mean, this is pretty consistent with... It sounds ridiculous to say that a 2-1 with taunt is working, but it is.
It is, yeah. You can't. It's not like Unleash the Hounds, which you can deal with it. No mortal coils in Zoo anymore. That's very much an old thing now. Implosion, you don't understand the 2-1 either. So Knife Juggler does limit his effectiveness of dealing with the owl without trading him on board.
Now I have to wonder what Thijs' plan here is, because that 410 Twilight Drake just won't get traded into easily. You might have to lose, you know, the Knife Juggler and the Boom, and then you attack the owl with the 2-1. But then what? Do you play Doomguard? I mean, that can't feel good at all.
Because you play Mal'Ganis.
I mean, if you play Mal'Ganis, you're going all in. You have to get a good Doomguard turn afterwards. I think that's actually the least, I guess, lost. I mean, you're going to lose the least by doing this, and as a result, it makes a lot of sense.
And he has an opportunity to Argus these two guys if they stick around, and then he has a Doomguard to follow up, and that might be just enough damage to punch through StanCifka's walls and finish off the game.
Amusing enough, though, StanCifka's got another Taunt Giver, so he could go for Mountain Giant, as you said, you know, taunt up these guys, you know, on StanCifka's side. So that's giving him a 9/9 to contest the Mal'Ganis perfectly. Mountain Giant Defender, it will kill Dr. Boom. Or, you know, BGH.
BGH's a good card.
I think that'll do it.
Yeah,
that'll do it.
Unfortunately, Demon Lords aren't immune to dwarves with guns. That's their greatest weakness, bullets.
But it is a turtle. A turtle is a beast. There we have it.
There we go. Big game hunt. The biggest game of all, the turtle lord, right?
Yep, exactly.
So there we go. We got a bit of a wall coming down, but all his taunt activators are now being used so far until he finds more later on from tapping or drawing. Doomguard comes down.
Double Doomguard!
Oh, wow.
As much as the Big Game Hunter top deck may have seemed obscene to us, this is again the counter RNG that, you know, when we were talking about the fact that things even out in Hearthstone sometimes, this is a case of good RNG going both ways. Both players have access to it, and so neither of them really has a crazy advantage. Now, I have to wonder what Thijs' plan is, because if he doesn't kill the 2-3, his other Doomguard dies, but if he goes face, not only is he enabling Moltons, but he's also losing the other minion. I assume the trade is the only sensible play.
I think the trade is fine here. Like I said, you protect your other Doomguard. You do make yourself vulnerable to stuff like Shadow Flame, but it doesn't matter. If he's got Shadow Flame, he's got it, right?
Right.
So you might as well play a little bit safer and protect the both minions. So maybe next turn you maybe find an Overwhelming if they don't get dealt with, and finish off the game.
Well, StanCifka, no taunt enablers right now. He does pick up Jiraxis, though. Would you play that? Attack the Doomguard. The only way you'll lose would be abusive. You know, runner, something like abusive Sergeant, power overwhelming.
Jiraxis seems pretty good here.
I mean, it's a really rough turn for StanCifka, though, right? Because if he plays Jiraxis, the Moltons will never come down on the board. And if he doesn't find a taunt giver, then he might just die. He's going all in on it. Does he find it? He finds a defender!
Top deck after top deck.
Giant turn here.
Oh,
wow.
man.
What a gigantic top deck.
I think I see what you did there.
Nicely done. Pretty smooth.
Smooth operator here, and this is going to lock Thijs out the game. I think this might just be a concede.
2 German Giants and a normal one. I think we're good to go. You win this time, says one of the Gul'dan, and StanCifka takes the first game against the Zoo.
I think StanCifka's going to feel really happy with this win because his hand locks out the way. The one deck that has been letting him down a little bit in this tournament, he's finally got a win with that straight away, and now his stronger deck, the Control Warrior, can have a bit of play, have a bit of fun, and the Druid. So if he plays, if I was StanCifka here, I'd play Warrior next, and then you have Druid last. So if you win with the Warrior, you have Druid last. Druid will have 3 games to win. You only need to draw Wild Growth and Innovate to win, right? So
it happens one time and you're good to go. Right, it just needs to happen once. So I really like the line of thinking you've got here. I mean, the Patron Warrior is still up in Thijs' lineup, so that's a really big weak spot. And any game that StanCifka takes, or anything else than Patron, is almost a free win. You could look at it that way.
Yeah, I think he should definitely go for the Control Warrior. Thijs, on the other hand, he can kind of play whatever he wants. He needs to get a win with something. He can maybe make a read on the Control Warrior, thinking that StanCifka might want the Druid last because it has a good opportunity to get that kind of crazy start and win. And he goes with the Zoo?
Zoo versus Control Warrior, if that's the case, or do we see a Malfurion?
Oh, it is a Malfurion.
Alright, Malfurion versus Gul'dan. I mean, technically, it's favored for Zoo. In practice, you know.
Not always the case with Druid.
Yeah, Druid does what it does.
But imagine if StanCifka just picked Control Warrior instead. He would have a much better time overall.
I think so, yeah.
And then if he was going to win, Druid had 3 opportunities to win, and I'd rather put my money on Druid getting 1 out of 3 wins than Control Warrior getting 1 out of 3 wins.
Well, you know what's interesting is that the Druid might have a less polarized matchup against Patron, whereby Control Warrior, the way that StanCifka's built it, has a very, very high win rate versus Patron, whereby the Druid has to win a game, again, as you said, against anything, and there's a chance that it will not win as often. If it comes down to Patron Warrior, the Control Warrior might be best kept for that. So when you queue Druid here, you can face either Paladin or Zoo, and maybe overall your matchup is better against those two than against Patron.
This is a good point to make, actually, because that Control Warrior does so well against Patron. We've seen him do it time and time again, beating Patrons down with his very well-teched Control Warrior. So if he leaves that in the back, he's going to face Patron eventually, and that will be the moment where he can maybe snag the win and take the tournament.
Well, Thijs has a pretty godly hand here. We're looking at 2-1 drop that he can start off with. Of course, he's missing the 2 drop, but he can turn the turn 2 into an Abusive plus Squire turn. Turn 3, Coin Void Caller. Turn 4, that Doomguard is disgusting. Even the Darnassus Aspirant will not stick around. Thijs has a perfect turn.
He has all the answers here to dealing with the Aspirant. I mean, even the 1-3 sticks around as well, so he keeps a 1-1 with Taunt at the end, which StanCifka is going to have to deal with, probably with a hero power next turn as his ramp's been taken away from him.
Yeah, he's going to have to find a swipe as well, I think. Going forward, a swipe would be pretty interesting for him. Now, this is an interesting situation StanCifka's in, because he almost feels like the ramp is worth using for tempo, but you might as well just kill off the Voidwalker right now instead of giving it some kind of up trade, considering a power overwhelming, perhaps.
I mean, even if he innovated out, say, the Harrison Jones for tempo, this board can deal with it.
Exactly.
And then he just play something else.
Right. You're going to only get the shield as a net gain, and you know there's still a coin, so 4 drops are coming up from Thijs.
And the Keeper is going to have a lot of value dealing with something like a Void Caller in the future, or just pinging off, say, a Knife Juggler, so you will want to keep that there. Well, if he coins a Void Caller instead of
Silence would make a lot of sense.
Yeah, it will take the Silence instead, whereas if he had played the Knife Juggler instead, he might have baited out the Keeper on that.
StanCifka here, I mean, silencing will leave the Keeper of the Grove vulnerable to removal, but what's good about that is that it sets up a really good swipe as a follow-up, right? So if ever, the 1-1 is used as its Divine Shield is used, then the swipe you could get is a lot better going forward, unless a Defender Argus shows up. So StanCifka on 5 can also go Innervate Ancient of Lore, replenishing his hand, finding even more removal, maybe getting a Force of Nature he can use to clear up, pesky minions that he doesn't want to deal with. I feel like right now, Thijs has the upper hand overall, but StanCifka's draw could even it out.
Silence in here is good, but the Keeper is super vulnerable to, like, Abusive Sergeant on an Abusive Sergeant kills the Keeper.
Right.
And that's a good value for Thijs there.
Maybe just cycle the Wrath and try to find something better. I'm not even against, Wrath on the... cycle the Wrath on the Abusive, Innervate Keeper to silence, let Thijs trade, and maybe you can find something. Yeah, on 5 you can play Harrison. Again, you're going to force another trade with both minions. You're just going to fall behind really quickly, though, if you do that.
But you get Innovate Ancient of Lore.
Yeah, I think it's too much. It's too good to not do, I think. Oh, man. Not good right now, but pretty good soon.
So, Juggler Abusive seems pretty straightforward.
Yeah,
you could even tap if you want.
Yeah, if you juggle, you could get yourself just a kill with the 3-4, and you get to keep both Abusives.
Yeah, he could go for that. He hasn't seen a swipe so far, so he can keep some pressure on the board with multiple minions. Let's see where this knife's going to go. It depends what he targets. I guess if he just targets the Abusive Sergeant, if the knife does hit him, he can use the Void Caller and just swing with the Abusive anyway.
Exactly. You're getting yourself the ability to get even more minions, punishing the lack of a swipe even better. We'll have to see though what he opts for. I think right now I don't say the all-in, but empty your hand before the Doomguard is a pretty good option.
He keeps a 3-4 body stable. That's fine. Either way was fine, I think. One plays around swipe, one doesn't, and we haven't seen a swipe just yet.
Double Innervate for StanCifka. He can go for the Ancient of Lore, Innervate Wrath.
That's really nice.
Clear up a lot from this board.
Get rid of that Knife Juggler, gets a nice 5-5 body on the field is going to find some more answers here.
What does he get? A Savage Roar and a Force of Nature. The combo is ready, but Force of Nature in this case, I think, is going to be very useful as a board clear, especially going into turn 6, which is coming right around the corner.
I mean, that's what it's all about for the Druid in this matchup. Just keep clearing the board, and eventually your minions will outvalue theirs. You will have to face stuff like Mal'Ganis, you'll have to face stuff like Doomguard, but Force of Nature combo is definitely something that can help you deal with that.
So Thijs here, he's got the Doomguard, but he doesn't want to play it yet. There's too much value to be lost. Maybe just playing like a Power Overwhelming on one of his smaller minions. Probably, my guess is, on the 2-1. Now that he picked up the Defender, having a Divine Shield on the Argent Squire is worth a lot. So I'm liking the position Thijs is in.
Yeah, again, to taunt up both the Argent Squire and say the Void Caller is going to be really nice. And again, the Divine Shield has a lot of value because you'll have to punch through it with two things. Maybe a hero power, maybe just part of a swipe. The 2/2 is going to stick around, so it gives him a lot of security on the board.
Alright, well, StanCifka doesn't pick up anything to help immediately. Force of Nature also atrocious against the Voidwalker, where 2 of your attacks with the Treants do nothing. So Harrison Jones for tempo feels to me like the only way out. It's going to maybe force a trade. We'll see what he opts to go for, but his options are very limited right now.
I think Harrison's kind of the obvious thing here, but maybe StanCifka can see something different.
I don't think so. His face seems to indicate that he doesn't see much. He's like, I'm not sure there's anything on that.
Yeah, the little raid of the eyebrow, like, oh, really? Do I have to play this? Scratch of the head as well.
All the signs of a very comfortable player, right?
All the signs of, I have to play Harrison here, it sucks.
Oh, and the Thijs gets himself the Power Overwhelming for a good trade before he drops the Doomguard. And he only really loses the Defend of Argus. Do you think he's going to opt for the Power Overwhelming?
I really like the Defender of Argus as well, though.
Yeah.
It's quite hard to judge. I mean, Power Overwhelming on the Void Walker's fine. Clears the Harrison. But taunting up those two guys will be super useful. It's going to be a lot for StanCifka to punch through.
What if we just go phase here? Like, you just bump it up to 5? You bring the Druid down to 5, right? You just go all in on the damage. Okay, maybe it's still vulnerable to a swipe.
He looks like he's hovering over his... Yeah, I guess I like this way, mainly because he keeps the taunt. I think the taunt has more value here, because he decided to go for the Doomguard over the Argus.
Right.
Keeps his taunt alive, and the 1/1 just disappears.
Well, StanCifka again with a really bad Force of Nature. He does find a swipe though, but I'm not sure it's enough just yet. Could he heal himself with Ancient of Lore? That would only stop some of the bleeding, but I feel like it might be one of the only ways for him to stabilize, because Force of Nature doesn't do it, Swipe doesn't do it at all. I feel like the heal is the only way out.
I like the heal. It'll keep him in the game at least for another turn. He might find some more answers. Force of Nature might find some more use next turn when he has a body on the field, unless Thijs trades into it. But if he trades into it, at least he keeps more of his health then. Swipe might become more useful. Yeah, Ancient Law seems okay. StanCifka is going to go through all his options here. What else could you do other than that?
Yeah, I mean, Wild Growth would only enable a combo next turn. Right now, there's only 9 damage on board, but Thijs is possibly going to find a Juggler. There's very little damage left in Thijs' deck as direct damage. We've seen 2 Abusives, 2 Power Overwhelmings, there's a Doomguard, and you could maybe say a Mal'Ganis counts as one, but he can't play it yet. So, very little damage left, Defend of Argus perhaps. The heal looks very safe, and maybe the only way for you to stay in this game and stabilize even further later on with a swipe.
Another Void Call, he gets to tap as well. And a Horned Creeper. So just still developing the board, putting more pressure on StanCifka. Eventually he'll just overwhelm him.
Yeah, he'll have to buckle under the pressure. I mean, at some point, all this damage is a bit too much.
So now here's the big question. Do you trade? Or do you go for face, setting up for a lethal again next turn? Is this Void Walker enough protection from any of StanCifka's options?
I mean, I feel like if you trade, the worst thing that happens is a Force of Nature killing the Voidwalker and your Doomguard, and you still have 6 on board. But at that stage, going face achieves, the winning play even faster, because Force of Nature wouldn't even solve the problem, because then the Druid would be dead. He'd be on 1 health left with 2 Void Callers to deal with. Not happening.
I don't think there is a way he can even sustain here.
Well, the Force of Nature is going to keep him alive. That's it, really. It's going to keep him alive. He's going to be able to kill the Voidwalker with 1 Treant, and then he'll have to trade 2 Treants into maybe one of the Void Callers, kill the other with the Ancient of Lore, and maybe he stays alive because there's no more damage. That's it. That's the last push he's got. Thijs needs 1 damage. That's it.
So he stays in the game with 1 health.
Oh,
Direwolf
there it
Alpha. That's going to be enough here. Ty's going to tie it up 1-1. He's still in the game. He's still in the match. StanCifka's got some work to do.
Yeah, I mean, they're both laughing and smiling about it. I mean, I guess they expected it. Zoo over Druid. Yeah, that's a really rough matchup. With a hand like that, almost unwinnable. It would have been a feat of strength if StanCifka took it. So they're both kind of expecting what's going to happen. Unfortunately, you know, Thijs is stuck with a patron, and StanCifka's just waiting. He's just waiting for that patron to come out.
That's the most important match of the series. Can Thijs win with the patron and kind of stump the lineup that StanCifka has brought, because it is based around letting the patron go through and being able to beat it. We've seen him do it multiple times against Orange to get into the grand finals, against Cypher, but that was with a mage, so he has a lot of experience in that matchup.
You know, StanCifka's drinking a lot of stuff. I saw 4 different bottles of different products. I think he's just mix and match. He might have figured out some secret potion.
Just blending them all together.
Maybe
Potion of strength.
I like that.
Potion of intelligence. I guess that would work a lot more. Buff your intelligence by 5.
Yeah, sometimes I actually drink that, right? And then I start casting, and then in the middle of a cast, it just kind of fades away. And the effect lasts no longer, and then, I mean, that's what happens when I just am a bumbling idiot. That's what.
So you're going, oh, so we could do this, and you could do that, and then you could... what was I saying?
Exactly. It's like, no, that doesn't work. Yep, that's exactly right, Noxious. I guess I need to stop relying on that potion of intellect. So StanCifka here has the double Aspirant start. Thijs picks up the Zombie Chow. Amazing debut, I guess, to the game, but unfortunately it's not going to get followed by any other 2-drop, and that means the Aspirant that StanCifka has is going to be unchallenged for now. I wonder if StanCifka's afraid of anything that could kill this Dornasus Aspirant. I can't imagine there's anything yet that could do it.
There's always turn 3 onwards where they kind of have some instant damage to be able to deal with something like that. And the Muster for Battle, the Cog Hammer. But right now this Aspirant should be safe, and he should probably replay it just to put some pressure on his Zombie Chow. And he has another Aspirant to follow up, even if that one gets taken out. So it seems okay.
Yeah, so here, if there's a coin Aspirant, right, he expects it to live 1 turn. He expects it to die on the following turn, where he'll have the other Aspirant. The question is, you know, do I really need this Aspirant if I'm going to have nothing to play on 3? The overall answer is, well, at least on 3 you can play the second one, and even if the first one dies to Muster for Battle, at least you keep your ramp going for the Druid of the Claw turn on turn 4. So overall, I think going for the Aspirant secures that turn 4 Druid of the Claw and is worthwhile. Maybe StanCifka doesn't think so, however.
It's pretty tough, actually. I was just thinking about it. If he plays Aspirant and the Zombie Chow hits it and he makes a dude, I mean, the Aspirant's going to die,
exactly.
right? And then he plays the next Aspirant, so
it dies to Muster with the other Zombie Chow.
Yeah, so it's pretty tough. I can see why he might find more value in the coin to get maybe his 5 drop out a bit cheaper, maybe find a Shredder. Oh, Wildgrove. Lots of ramp in this hand.
That's a tough one, because if you didn't want to play the Aspirant, the Wildgrowth is a lot safer option as far as ramp goes, and it also means that Thijs, if he plays Muster for Battle, is going to feel a little threatened. Not having a follow-up here must make Thijs reluctant to overextend here with Muster, but he's got 2. So if the first one doesn't work and a swipe hits, the second one might be able to carry on with the game. I just don't know how comfortable Thijs is with using Muster over maybe just a blatant and boring hero power.
Yeah, Muster, it's not as all in as it could be because he has another Muster, but he does want to get as much value from these 1/1s as possible, and like you said, it plays so much into swipe, but Thijs doesn't care. Bring the swipe on.
Yeah, if my board lives, the value I get out of him not having swipe is too big. I get a Blessing of Kings, and I'm basically guaranteed to just keep going and pushing for a massive amount of damage. There is a Lothab, though, that StanCifka just picked up. Not something we should discount, because it will lock the Blessing of Kings out of the options from Thijs. It would also contest this board very nicely.
I like the Lothab. I do agree with you. And if he plays a Druid of the Claw, he must expect Blessing of Kings on 4, True Silver Champion on 4,
exactly,
to be able to contest that really easily. Lothab really locks out the spells. It didn't lock out True Silver Champion.
I mean, that's the thing, right? It doesn't lock it out, but it's not... I mean, both plays are weak to True Silver. Lothab is weak to only True Silver and not the Kings on top of it. So that's why Lothab may be a bit safer. The double Aspirant isn't too bad either, but it's just that you're guaranteed to lose the board. However, you're forcing the opponent in a position where he's making trades, maybe weakening his Blessing of Kings minion. and you can then keep your coin for later again, where it might bring you more value.
I think I'd like double Aspirant more if he was sitting on a Wrath.
But he doesn't have one. Exactly.
But he doesn't have one, unfortunately. Because if he had a Wrath in the back there, he would be able to maybe Wrath the one that gets Blessing of Kings. But low Feb, like you said, only weak to True Silver. Thijs doesn't find it. And Blessing of Kings was his only real option to clear something like that, which he can't use now being at 9 mana.
2 Alms, man. That's a very tricky spot for Thijs, because with no immediate play, everything he wants to do relies on StanCifka not having a good follow-up, and we know that StanCifka starting right now, his curve is looking a lot better than it was. Of course, Thijs has options, but StanCifka going forward, you know, the moment he picks up a swipe, I think things are going his way.
Another thing Thijs is considering as well is, if I don't trade some of my minions into this guy, how hard do I get punished by swipe? And I think very hard is the answer there. So he's forcing Thijs to use that mess of a battle. He gets to use the zombie chow quite early as well, so doesn't give him too much of a health push when he needs it. And he does get free dudes, so free dudes are still going to stick around and put some pressure on.
Alright, so StanCifka here values as 2 5-drops to be played back-to-back. He has the Druid of the Claw he can play now, which I think is appealing enough, but again, you know, he has to curve into Force of Nature afterwards. Overall, StanCifka playing a very defensive game is likely to get it to work, because with Force of Nature following the Druid of the Claw, I think the defensive play he's trying to put together will work out. The question is, what do you do if Thijs picks up a Mysterious Challenger, right? Like, what is your option at that stage?
I don't think StanCifka even want to worry about that right now.
Let me not think about that right now, because this is effectively unbeatable.
Because that's a stressful thing to be considering all the time. Is this challenger going to really ruin my day? What secret do you want to see down from Thijs here? Because he has 1 mana to expend. Avenge would be cool.
Noble Sack is pretty good, because you have 2 of them already, and it's also preventing the Druid from maybe killing the 5-1. On the other end, there's no swipe, so Avenge is likely to trigger if he ends up killing the 5-1, giving you a 5-3, which is a bit healthier.
And Avenge...
oh my god.
Oh, Forsen.
Is that worth it?
I don't know, actually.
I kind of like it.
I mean, you really want to deal with this 5-1, and you can play 2 Aspirants, which can challenge these 1-1s alone, but...
Yeah, you're right. I think you're right. Maybe you're right. Like, just hero power down the 5-1, then go for double Aspirant.
Because then on 7 you could draw more cards. If you draw us another Savage Draw, maybe you can go for a much more powerful combo turn. And he's already on 21 health as well, so he'd be in range of kind of a double Savage Draw combo.
Yeah, that's right.
So something to consider.
Yeah, Thijs as well, you know, playing the Avenge here leaves him very vulnerable to Keeper of the Grove. We didn't mention that, but if the 5-1 were to be killed by the hero power, sure, StanCifka would go down to 21 health overall, and then Keeper of the Grove would silence whatever's been buffed. So Thijs is taking a bit of a gamble here. He's playing into both Swipe and Keeper of the Grove. Down goes the 5-1. There's no way that's staying up.
So the cheaper combo is going to be available here.
Oh wow.
Another Avenge, not wanting to see. Where's the challenger? He's supposed to be here by now.
Well, you know, he does what he wants, right? You can't boss it. You're not the boss of him. There's no way.
It's very hard to boss that guy around. If you ask him anything, he just says none of your business. Like, come on, man. I'm just asking you where you're
going to be here at like turn 6 or not? No, none of your business.
Do you want to meet up later? None of your business. Oh, come on. It's hard to be your friend, Mysterious Challenger. You don't give anything back.
Oh, God.
There we go.
He's very misunderstood, I think.
I don't think he's misunderstood. I understand exactly what he does, and it's not very nice.
Oh, you know what? I just feel like sometimes this card is not getting all the fanboy love it deserves.
I'm sure there's some guy. I'm sure all the Face Hunter players play Secret Paladin now. They're like, I'm even waiting for this guy to come around.
Oh, it's like it's not the hero you want, but it's the hero you deserve, right?
Underneath that mask is an orc. It's not actually a human. It's an orc paladin in disguise.
Yeah, Garrosh revived. Patron War is just moving.
Alright, so it looks like Woodaloon Lady's going to come down. And he's going to get to draw some cards as well. Getting that other Savage Draw would be super important here because it gives him a lot of reach that he didn't have before.
What's interesting too is right now, Thijs is sitting on that Tyrian Forging for turn 8. StanCifka picked up the Keeper of the Grove on time to deal with it. I'm just not sure how worried Thijs is of that, like about the ramp. It's just that all those 1-1s, whenever you want to trade, you're literally sending them all to their death. Every single one of them goes out. And the more cards that StanCifka plays, the more risky it is to keep the 1-1s because swipe is likely to be there.
And the more cards he draws, again, makes an incredible risk here. And all these dudes, like you said, are going to be lambs to the slaughter here. Looks like he can keep 4 of them alive. Shield the minibot's pretty good here with the Avenge, because if he does throw a swipe around, it's going to get buffed. The shield will glow, but will go away, but at least he'll have something to contest the Ancient of Law there.
Death by 1,000 cuts here with all those 1/1s. Wrath gets picked up. That's not exactly something that's going to be necessary here.
So, is this Force of Nature? Fifth Force of Nature gonna
and that is going to be game here for StanCifka. Picks up the lethal because the 5/5 could not actually get killed by Thijs. Only the Aspirant could.
This is such an important victory for StanCifka going forward in the series, because he gets the bad matchup out of the way from the Paladin, and then the Control Warrior can do what it wants. It can really shine, as StanCifka's been using it so greatly this tournament.
Alright, so StanCifka here, he's getting himself a secure win almost, I want to say, against the Patron Warrior from Thijs. Later on, he doesn't even have to beat Patron, he could beat the Paladin, he could beat anything he wants, and he's going to be taking the tournament.
Oh, let's not count Thijs out too quickly. I mean, Thijs is a player who can take down the Titan known as Control Warrior. Yeah. I mean, Thijs is a Patron Warrior, may be able to squeeze in a cheeky win if the hand doesn't fall too well to StanCifka.
Yeah, sometimes you don't find what you need.
You draw, like, you mulligan your stuff away and you come back with Grom, Ysera, Dr. Boom, and you're just like, what do I do? And then Thijs just has all this card draw. You know, there's things happen like that in Hearthstone. It's unavoidable sometimes.
Yeah, good matchups don't always go your way. Like in this case, we saw the Paladin fall down. I mean, he didn't get the good curve. Shilling Minibot earlier would have been a lot better than all these little 1/1s, which always made him reluctant to keep them as a result of how weak they were to swipe. But now, StanCifka, with the Control Warrior, we've seen him, he plays Justicar Trueheart, he plays double Brawl, he's got double BGH with Cruel Taskmasters, he's hoping to snipe off just about anything that comes down. Mysterious Challenger dies to the Big Game Hunter, Harrison Jones takes care of the weapons, the deck is very well teched for this meta game. As far as I've seen, this is his best deck.
Oh, for sure. We've seen him snowball out of control. And the one thing StanCifka does really well with this deck, even though he plays a very defensive, he knows when to turn the heat on. He knows when he can go on the aggressive. And it's usually those moments where he really shines. He stalls, and then all of a sudden he goes, now it's my turn, and then he'll start putting the pressure on, and that player usually can't deal with it because he's got these 5/5s and the Shield Maidens, you know, the 6/3 from the Justicar just smack in face, and it's really hard to deal with that stuff. Once you've exhausted all your options, trying to deal with like weapons, your shield slams, and dealing with all your stuff, he just grinds you out really hard.
Alright, so now I have to wonder if Thijs is considering maybe just going for competitive spirit into Haunted Creeper, or maybe a coin muster for battle. These are a bit weird as far as plays go. I mean, it's not something that's guaranteed, but it gives you a lot of flexibility. If an Armor Smith comes on turn 2, you play the Creeper. If you see a Fiery War Axe, for instance, then and it pops the Creeper, you're still okay with it.
Ooh,
difficult call here for Thijs, and he goes for the Juggler.
And StanCifka's like, yes, Axe is going to eat that for breakfast. Fiery Wind Axe definitely going to come down here.
100% draw rate in your opening hand against the player who needs it, and Thijs shaking his head. A little acknowledgement smile there, saying, yep, that's going to be a rough game, I feel. But he's got the Belcher. Again, this is a mid-range version or variant of Secret Pally, so it can give run for its money to Control Warrior, who tries to get maximum value out of everything.
And Thijs knows, after watching StanCifka play this deck so much, he will grind you out. You will be playing minions, he'll just keep removing them. Maybe he felt that playing Knife Juggler on the first turn was maybe the momentum he might need if he didn't have the weapon.
Yeah. I mean, it will give you a lot of momentum for sure. It's a minion that, when unanswered, is probably, at the moment, one of the most threatening ones in the game by a long shot. A straightforward minion, right? It's not trying to pull off any gimmick like Nat Bagel, who is very threatening in many cases because it draws cards. Knife Juggler is straight up going to kill you.
Yep, it's such a powerful minion, and it's been in the metagame for a long time in lots of decks. It's a card I can't see going away in the future unless something better gets printed.
Yeah, and I feel like a lot of people said the power level of the card is actually way above average, being a 3/2 as opposed to a 2/2, and this is what it takes to make a constructive card. It feels like nowadays when you want to make a deck, you can't have stuff like Mana Wraith. Mana Wraith, in order to be viable, will have to at least be a 2/3. As a 2/2, it's not cutting it, and that's kind of what's going on when it comes to power level. Knife Juggler has been above the average for a long time now, and I don't think, as you said, anything is going to change on that front.
So the Fiery War Axe does pop up with the Hoarded Creeper here because he has the Death Spite following up on 4. So he knows he can clear these 1/1s, and these 1/1s are not going to put enough pressure on his life being able to armor up in the future as well, especially if Justica shows up.
Oh man, it's not.
She shows up.
I mean, if Thijs plays with a competitive spirit here, StanCifka's AoE plans are not going to work out, and he's going to have to rely on the Brawl to actually handle this. Oh man.
I like this play. I'm the competitive spirit here. Usually I wouldn't want it in my opening hand, but against something like a Death Spite, it's going to work out really well. Depends if StanCifka makes the read on it. I mean, how do you play around it now? You can't really, apart from just killing one.
You would maybe just stay with your game plan initially. Play Death's Bite and then go face, test for you know, Noble Sacrifice. If it's Avenge, you'll just pick it up. I guess you could kill one of the 1/1s and pick it up next turn. If it's Competitive Spirit, sure, Death's Bite doesn't work out, but you can still get a good brawl later on. Now Thijs, however, knowing that, and if StanCifka goes for a Death's Bite play, he will have the opportunity to make one of those 2/2s a 6/6 with the Blessing of Kings, making StanCifka's Death's Bite AoE a little less effective even.
The thing is with the Death Spite as well, he will have Cruel Taskmaster to clear up one of the dudes as well. So he can hit the face now, Competitive Spirit goes off,
right.
He can clear one with the Death Spite, the Whirlwind will go off, he can Cruel Taskmaster, and that Cruel Taskmaster can contest the other one. But that's not just the problem here, it's what else Thijs plays along with the Competitive Spirit, and Blessing of Kings is definitely a threat.
Alright, StanCifka, staying consistent with the game plan. Let this not change what I wanted to do, but those 2/2s will take their toll. That's a lot of damage coming out. StanCifka's pretty happy. He's like, yeah, I can get a brawl later, right?
Yeah.
Right? Oh man, that's gonna be rough. Beltran to the Mysterious Challenger.
These are the cards you want to find against this warrior.
Ouch.
Instead of whiffing your draws on pesky little secrets, a lot of damage on StanCifka straight away, taking down 16 health on turn 5.
Perfect clear though. He attacks 2/2 if he wants. Can use the execute on the 6/6 and beat the Cruel Task on the other one. But he's going to go for the brawl and sees what stays. The 2/2, no big deal really. He can finish it off if he wants. Might let it sit there if he doesn't feel it's a big threat. There's always that option, and maybe just reset the board completely with Cruel Taskmaster execute on his back pocket.
I kind of like leaving it here, actually. He's still on 16 health, he's still got armor to come, especially with a Shield Maiden in his hand coming up. So he could leave it here, and say a Shredder comes next turn, he can clear the Shredder, use some Cruel Taskmaster shenanigans, and go forward from there.
No,
another
the
one!
second Batman for this Gotham.
And this is a golden Batman, and the other one's a normal. So the other one's Robin, right? So
Yeah.
golden one
Right.
is Batman, the other guy's Robin.
Robin came first, and then came Batman. It's not the other way around. Oh, StanCifka does have a brawl though. That is something to consider. It will make dealing with the board a little bit easier, but if he's going to use his execute here, which I can imagine he will, right? If he's going to use it, then the Mysterious Challenger will just get an amazing amount of value. StanCifka might just opt to pop the Belcher and finish off the 2/2 with a Cruel Task and just armor up very safely.
I don't actually mind doing this. Just
Right.
Shield Maiden. And holding onto that weapon and letting Thijs overextend into the brawl.
You've seen one brawl if you're Thijs. I'm going to play everything I have if I'm in this position.
So looks like Batman's coming out first, Robin's going to stay in the back.
Well, he's useless anyway. He
Yeah.
summons less secrets.
Oh yeah, he does, so he would be the useless one.
None of your business.
Never take this guy to dinner.
Would
It'd be a terrible date. Like, what would you talk to him about? He'd never tell you anything.
I don't know. I feel like just being a 6/6 is good enough, right? Like, what are you doing today? I don't know. I'm just a 6/6 that summons everything.
I don't think he'd even tell you that.
I'm Batman.
He's just say, none of your business.
In fine print in the card, it actually says.
Can you imagine sat down with dinner with this guy? So, what do you do? None of your business. Oh, okay. And everything you ask the waiter, what would you like to eat? None of your business.
Do you want some pepper with that? None of your business. Salt maybe? No.
Oh man. Okay.
Alright, StanCifka gets a good brawl though, because now he triggered all the secrets, which means this brawl is gonna take everything home. At least he hopes, and if nothing works for him, it doesn't matter. He still has access to an execute after an AoE trigger from the Death's Bite. Overall, I think StanCifka's in an amazing spot, despite the fact that he's been pretty low on health since the last few turns.
So he goes to the Death Bite here first because he wants to be able to execute. Oh, he's just going for the execute actually, he doesn't want the brawl.
Who cares? Just play the Shield Maiden. If there's another minion later, I'll deal with that. For now, I'm safe. You know, I've got 3 damage on board coming my way. I've got a Shield Maiden, and I've got some options if weapons come out.
I mean, Brawl seems like the obvious choice here, and I probably would have went for the Brawls too, but this is why StanCifka is so good at this deck. He's so patient. He's so, like, it's clinical almost.
Definitely, yeah. You can see it when he plays. For instance, now Thijs is faced with the decision of having to maybe just replay another challenger, for instance. If he wants to do that, it's an amazing option. He gets a good trade, and that's when StanCifka's Brawl just does an even better job, because now there's no threats coming StanCifka's way. Tyrion is the only thing Thijs has right now that can remotely contest this the board that StanCifka is going to get over the next few turns.
Although, if that 6/6 does survive the Brawl, it's a pretty scary situation.
Yeah,
I mean, you could just hit.
I mean, if this is 6 survives the Brawl, I think just Belcher's better here then by a long shot. By a long shot.
Get him to overcommit some more stuff as well. I think you're in a sweet spot.
Yeah, the Belcher looks a lot better now that we actually look at all the options. It does make the double consecration a bit more impactful, and that you get more mileage out of the consecrations. But StanCifka can probably afford, armoring up a little bit more. He just has to make sure that nothing like a Tyrion comes out, no Dr. Boom comes out, because that will be really devastating.
I think the issue here is if he does decide to attack, and it buffs the slime, it makes the Belcher weaker. But if he doesn't attack, I think the slime's okay as well, because if you did go for double consecrate, it'll trade into the Belcher quite nicely. But I don't know, it's kind of awkward.
Would you ever just double? Yeah. I feel like I might cruel task something.
I think he wants a sack to hit the Mysterious Challenger here.
Well, we'll see what happens, because whatever it hits, I think it's overall going to be a bit of an issue. That's the biggest minion. There's no big game hunter, but overall, Thijs is still having to go through a Belcher with these two guys, and he can't do it without spending a lot of resources. Basically double consec, probably one of the plays.
So if you double conk now...
simple conk maybe, with mini bot, use the slime as a trading tool.
Yeah, perhaps. The thing is, this Belcher actually sets up quite a formidable wall, because... if you look, he has to run the challenger into it, so he takes down 5 health. Consecrate's going to come down, you can trade into the Shield Maiden, which is fine.
Do you play Muster, or do you go for Minibot instead and trade the slime away?
Now, if he plays Muster, he plays straight into Brawl.
Right.
So, depending on how greedy Thijs wants to be here. But I think Minibot hero power is probably fine as well. Probably the safer bet, but even then, that's still a good Brawl.
Yeah, interestingly enough though, if you don't, you can curve better with Minibot now and Hero Power and keep Muster concept for turn 9, and now he's playing straight into the Brawl. He doesn't know it yet, but StanCifka must be rejoiced.
And this is one of the benefits of being super patient with your Brawl, because you've had so many good Brawl opportunities that StanCifka has played around. The Brawl just kind of comes out of nowhere now.
Nobody sees it coming, and StanCifka even has a Harrison Jones to take away the weapon. Maybe he, if he wants to play it risky as hell and just wait for another execute, he's got the slam as well to kill anything that's on the way. Cruel Taskmaster can finish off the smaller.
Oh, and Thijs knows now. He was thinking there's no Brawl. He could have used it before. He had perfect opportunities, and only a 1/1 will survive. And this is the moment where StanCifka can stabilize and maybe take the series.
Tyrion Forging is a really good draw for Thijs though. Dr. Boom, Tyrion Forging, it's not over for him yet. He's got high quality cards. Zombie Chow's the worst, and he picks it up!
Oh man, Zombie Chow. And Thijs was talking about how Zombie Chow can be a bit lackluster.
Yeah. That's a bit. Oh man.
So now
StanCifka's got a perfect turn. You take off that weapon, you draw 2 cards, you slam that Zombie Chow, you Cruel Task it, and you just keep doing what you're doing, which is draw just a card and win.
Yeah, drawing Justica is probably key to securing the victory for him.
I'm actually just in pure disbelief at what happened. Like, this has been an amazingly played game by StanCifka. This is exactly why Control Warrior is such a strong deck. It's taking lines of play that aren't necessarily the most obvious and intuitive, but it's turning those into absolutely
and there she
victories.
Is.
Rest in peace. You had a nice life, Paladin.
Rest in peace, little Pally, because you're not only going to heal this warrior with the Zombie Chow, he's going to start building tremendous amounts of armor come the next turn. And you still have Harrison to deal with, you're still going to have a Cruel Taskmaster to deal with.
It's not over. Your nightmare is merely beginning.
Garrosh there, sitting in the flames like, come on.
Lord of Hell, Mal'Ganis? Nope. StanCifka here is thinking about not wasting the Cruel Task. I mean, he can always go for another play if he wants to. You know, the Armor Smith's alright. You can always shield slam the Zombie Chow if you feel like you have to. But with the Justicar, I feel like the armor gain is going to be big enough that he can deal with Dr. Boom a lot more easily if it comes out now.
And this is a true control master.
Oh,
Back-to-back Zombie Chows.
wow, this is exactly what we were talking about earlier today. The Zombie Chow variant of mid-range Paladin with secrets is the biggest. You know, it's just that's the biggest weakness of it. Is it draws Zombie Chow in
well
the worst
met.
spots.
Victory is
And
StanCifka takes it 3-1 over the European World Champion himself. Thijs is going down. That is it.
So this is it. StanCifka claims his first title.
The biggest title he could get in this event, and that's at first place. And he's gone through so many matches.
Yeah, he had a big grind. All the players had a big grind ahead of him when they first got to Kiev. But StanCifka, you know, he had kind of an up and down journey. He started really high on the first day. Second day, he had a shaky tiebreak he had to play, which he beat Kalento 3-0, was it in the end?
And he had to win 3-0 or 3-1. There was no way for him to win, to move on if it was anything but 3-0 or 3-1, and he did get it. So
Wait, what's going on?
what is going on here? Is that a best of 7? It is.
Oh, it is a best of 7. We all thought it was over.
What did I miss?
So I guess it's deck revival? Is that what we're seeing here?
I wasn't told.
I guess they're just playing for fun.
I guess. Maybe they're just playing. I have no idea. I'm guessing it's a best of 7. I didn't get the memo earlier today. We look very competent right now, you and I, Aquablaw. I just want to point that out for people who are watching, who are probably letting us know just how amazing we are as casters. This is basically the equivalent of getting everybody hyped up for no reason.
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys. We're sorry. We were misinformed. It's not our fault.
I guess it's got to be a best of 7 with a revival deck.
So as far as I knew, it was just the best of 5. Double elimination's interesting. It's kind of interpreted in very different ways. I kind of always know it as the guy in loser's bracket has more work to do.
Do you think Thijs is reviving the warrior? Do you think it really makes that much sense to revive that deck over the other ones?
You mean no? StanCifka will get to choose to revive, right?
No, I mean Thijs. You know, he's playing Patron Warrior right now, right?
Oh right, yeah, that's true.
Is it his best match, do you think, against StanCifka's Control Warrior?
Well, Paladin had 2 mysterious challenges and still couldn't do it. So maybe he thinks the power of Patron, the nerfable archetype, may be able to carry him to victory here. Double Brawl in hand, in the opening hand, actually.
Against Patron, I can't imagine that wouldn't do something at some point, right? It's got to be one of your best safeguards against what they can do.
And he has the Death Spite here as well to clear up this Acolyte of Pain before it draws too many cards.
I still can't believe we just called it. That's it, StanCifka won, and he didn't.
But StanCifka's reaction didn't actually look of a winner. It looked as
like,
I'm an almost there kind of guy. No, I'm not actually there.
Yeah, I guess we need to learn to read facial expressions a bit more. Is what we need to work on.
Well, just stop mid-sentence. And he's, oh, wait a minute, he doesn't look too happy.
Oh, StanCifka here definitely focusing to win the game, so it must mean something.
Interesting. So maybe StanCifka has to win an extra game because he's coming from loser's bracket.
I think there's a disadvantage for people coming from losers bracket.
There should be a disadvantage.
There should be a disadvantage. Usually this is how it works. The guy who ended up losing his first match, as opposed to going straight to the grand finals, has to have a disadvantage, and then the winning player has a handicap of sorts.
I mean, traditionally for me, double elimination is a loser has to win 2 sets.
Instead of just the one.
So if it was to go the way I know it, StanCifka would have won the first best of 5, and he would have knocked ties into losers, where they would play in losers to see who got eliminated. But I don't think it's going that way. I think StanCifka might just have to win one more to win the actual tournament here.
Maybe just another 1v1.
Oh, they're just playing for fun now.
Right, it's like, you know what, we're done, but we're going to keep... I don't think that's the case at all. So StanCifka here, he's got his Control Warrior deck. I don't think with Double Brawl, Patrons will be that big of a threat. It's more, the massive fraud things that you're going to have to be worried about. Thijs has his Emperor already set up if he wants it. So he might just opt to wait until he finds, the crazy frauding turn, get more cards, more high-value cards. As long as there's card draw, there's a reason to wait to play Emperor.
He hit some great stuff, though. if he does do it now. He does hit the War Song, he hits the Whirlwind, and he hits the Patron. But he's, like you said, he still has some more card draw in hand. He could use the Gnomish here, maybe fighting the Throvim, which is probably even more important.
Well, he can reduce the cost of Inner Rage to -1, you know, give himself a pseudo coin, of course.
Give himself mana.
Yeah.
Alright, so 40 health for Thijs here.
Oh,
there she is.
There she is, Justicar. She might now. It doesn't really accomplish much. She basically just dies. Shield Maiden's a bit of a bigger play. Dr. Boom on curve, Justicar on 8, and then can keep waiting. Wow. Right, there's a chance he does. I mean, I don't see. Because if he plays it now, it doesn't really accomplish much. She basically just dies. Shield Maiden's a bit of a bigger play. Dr. Boom on curve, Justicar on 8, and then can keep waiting. Wow, Thijs picks up even more draw to make this Emperor powerful.
It's interesting because he did have the coin as well, so he did have the opportunity to play Boom this turn if he wanted.
Yeah, Boom against the 2-4 means you're likely to get executed, so I'm not sure it's necessarily the best way to go about it, but I totally understand how that'd be worthwhile. But I think he's just a very defensive game player when it comes to Patron.
In general, I would say, actually, playing this Control Warrior, super defensive, and it's worked out for him this entire tournament, so keep doing what you're doing, StanCifka, don't listen to me.
Like a lot of pain with Inner.
I think you do need to find your combo pieces as fast, because you want to kill him as fast as possible. You don't want him to be able to hit the hero power every turn if he can. I mean, if we start going into the turn 10 kind of turn 10 range, that's the range where StanCifka can really stabilize and put himself out of reach of Thijs, and Thijs had already suffered at the hands of this.
Exactly, he's seen that before. He's actually faced off against StanCifka himself, and I think he was just going down to the fatigue, and it came up, and I think the patron was trying to go through, what, 40 armor? StanCifka was sitting at about 70. There was no way for Thijs to go for it. He's been there. He doesn't want to go there again. Might try to just accelerate the process, get himself the Frothings. One big OTK should be what he needs.
Right, Warwick's going to clear up this Acolyte of Pain so easily. And with all that armor on Thijs' side, it's going to be harder for him to battle rage as well.
Here we go, Justicar is coming down with the coin armor up to give Thijs all the nightmares in the world. I think he's triggered right now.
I saw Thijs' face as soon as it hit the board. It was just like, Scorner.
It's like, really? You did that to me? Although he does have an amazing turn here. The Emperor with the double Whirlwind. He picks up a Shield Slam to deal with a 6-3, can execute the Shield Maiden, keeps the Emperor safe, forces StanCifka to expend a lot of resources in the process. In this case, merely a Baron Geddon, but still, that's a really big deal.
Yeah, nice clean removal here. Gets that reduction down as well. Does he not use the... Oh, he doesn't use the execute. Very interesting.
So he's just going to let him go, trade 1-for-1 straight up. Not going to have... you're not going to force StanCifka to use more removal. He's happy with one trigger. Will need to execute some of the bigger threats coming from StanCifka, who, by the way, just declined playing Boom when he could, because armor is just that good.
This is what he's going to do now. He's going to play maybe one minion at a time. Maybe just put pressure on whatever Thijs does.
Yeah, we're here till tomorrow at the very least, right?
Well, this could...
No, this couldn't go... The Brawl is going to make sure this goes nowhere.
And he has the Fiery Works, ready to take out whatever patron survives.
I mean, a second wave of this these shenanigans. Thijs is going to get, a lot of card draw from the Battle Rage, so he will have a chance to get the Frothing, the second War Song, maybe both Frothings. And if he keeps a Whirlwind, which he has, it's going to give him a second wind going forward.
We are talking about the Brawl here. The Brawl's great, but the one thing we're not really discussing is how much damage this is actually going to do to StanCifka. This is a tremendous amount of damage.
I mean, it's not really threatening StanCifka immediately. He would need to get a Frothing turn somewhat soon. Right now, what he's really doing is forcing StanCifka to have the Brawl. If there is no Brawl here, Thijs just basically wins.
I remember speaking to Thijs about this matchup when he did it the last time against StanCifka. He said after his first patron turn he hit him, he realized he actually did nothing. And he was just like, wait, I just did all that and I didn't even hit his health?
Yeah, I hit him for about 20 and he still has 25 armor left. Yep, that's exactly what happened. And StanCifka, another armor up. Maybe play the Armor Smith because why not?
He's just seen the patron turn. He could do if he wants.
What about you just don't play anything ever?
That's definitely an option.
I think that's what he does. Very often he just plays nothing ever.
Unless it's like a super threat that Thijs has to answer straight away. Like a Grom maybe.
Yeah, the question is, does the armor gain from Armor Smith negate the damage that it enables through the opponent's Whirlwind effect, right? Because that has to be the consideration it's basically a calculation based on that, right? If there's a, like, say, an Acolyte of Pain, I can use the Cruel Task on my Armor Smith and kill the Acolyte. Yeah, that's great. I'm going to get 2 armor out of this. He's only going to get 1 card, so again, I'm in a great spot.
I actually like not doing anything because it sticks to his game plan, and this game plan has worked for him. He's going to gain 4 armor every turn just from hero power alone.
Right.
And then he's got a shield block and more shield maidens. I think this is fine.
Now, Thijs here does not have another Warsong commander, but he did pick up a Patron. He's got 2 Whirlwind effects ready to go. If the top deck is a Frothing Berserker, without a Warsong, he won't be able to pull the trigger just yet.
Probably going to see a shield block to start with. Harrison Jones would be incredible here.
It's possible he plays it. The Slam, he could use the Slam with double Cruel Task to wipe the board. I'm not sure that does much when you want to play nothing for as long as you're allowed not to.
Slamming this does activate Battle Rage. That's another thing to consider.
You'd have to kill it if you were to slam at all. Yeah, I feel like this is actually a really weird turn for StanCifka because he doesn't want to play anything based on his game plan, but he also has no way to kill the Armor Smith, which could give Thijs a lot more armor than he's going to have.
So he's going to slam. He thinks he finds it more important to find cards of his own, maybe another shield block. Nope. And there we go. Armor's up. So StanCifka very close to kind of base health level, even after all that damage he took from the patrons.
Yeah, he's up to 28 right now. Thijs, without a Frothing Burst, is unlikely to go through this just yet. But again, we've seen this type of deck. You know, Patron Warrior does that. It just draws eventually, and when they can get that one massive hit, it's enough. Now, Thijs is considering the second Patron right now because it's the only way he's getting to the Frothings, which he can still enable with the Unstable Ghouls.
What are we going to use here? I think the Axe is fine because now the Axe doesn't get punished by Harrison Jones.
Exactly. There's no way to actually lose the value out of it. The second Death's Bite might get punished. Now Thijs is calculating, do I really get any value if I Whirlwind here? No, because you lose the Armor Smith and then you have 2 Patrons that are damaged and nothing more.
Finds a shield. There's a Throbbing. He still needs some more pieces to this puzzle.
Keeps the Whirlwind effect. Definitely the correct play. Another Frothing's picked up. Warsong is the only missing combo piece. Unfortunately, that might just not be enough, right? If StanCifka sees this, he might just react and pull the trigger on the Brawl.
Brawl looks fantastic here.
The thing is, Thijs wants to keep the Whirlwind, but if he does, then those Patrons are very vulnerable. If he uses it, then the Frothing's a lot worse.
I think Brawl is going to maybe close out this game.
We'll see, though. The Frothings can do a little bit of work. So if StanCifka lets a 3-3 live, what happens next?
Thijs smiling.
Like, he always has it, doesn't he? Yeah, he plays 2.
He had 2 in his opening hand this time.
And Execute is going to clean this last one up if StanCifka wants.
And Hero Power and pass.
You could play the Armor Smith now. There's no more Patrons. Who cares?
Yeah, that's true.
Or you could also pass. That's what StanCifka.
Although Armor Smith does activate Throbbing, so there's 1 for 1 though. Oh, he's got 2 Throbbings.
Right.
Yeah, just hold on. I don't think you need to play anything just yet.
The Armor Smith looks fine, but again, StanCifka may just want to starve Thijs. This is literally a war of attrition, and Thijs, even though he's sitting on a very high armor count, I mean, he does not win the Fatigue War since he's drawn so many cards, and he does not have the burst needed to finish off the 27 current health from StanCifka, which is only going to get bigger. Thijs does use a Slam here. Wants to make sure this Frothing can do maybe a little bit of work.
Oh, there's the other Death Spy. Okay. The problem is, the longer it takes Thijs to find a combo to actually win, the less chance he has of winning. The more he presses that hero power, he gets further and further away from Thijs actually having any chance of winning the game. So he needs to keep putting pressure on, because if he doesn't, StanCifka's just going to sit there and...
Yeah, what does he care here, right? They just attack with Grom, armor up.
Yeah.
Wow. Who would have seen that coming?
He actually played a minion. That wasn't...
No way!
Who would have thought?
Yeah, so shield block here for Thijs is going to allow him to dig closer to Fatigue to get himself closer and closer to StanCifka's endgame. And the Execute on Grom will take it out. But again, with only 1 Frothing and 27 health to go through.
Thijs his own Brawl, which just is never going to get any value here.
You could kill your own Patrons against Control Warrior.
You could
You could help him out.
I
Give
mean,
him a third.
The deck's so overpowered, sometimes you do need to just help him out.
You could attack Grom straight up. Like, you know what? I don't even mind this.
This is the last Robin. This is it.
That's all. That's all that Thijs has. And StanCifka can just go. All right, cool Taskmaster, BGH.
Yes, cool Taskmaster BGH will be enough. Or just Fiery War Axe if he really wants to.
I mean, that's enough. I think Thijs will simply have to concede the fact that this control wire from Stan is an absolute monstrosity. What a monstrosity here from StanCifka.
So this is it now. This is the actual victory.
StanCifka does win. For real, we're not lying this time, Akablad. We were completely out of our minds. StanCifka still doesn't win. It's the same thing for him. It's like, I want. Obscene. I might just have to steal that from him.
Send us a list, StanCifka. We want to take this to our own tournaments.
Please welcome the champion of
wow.
StarSeries Hearthstone Season 1, StanCifka!
Do you wear that trophy proudly?
How's he gonna get home? Customs is gonna have a field day.
Yeah, there's an after party, right? So you could bring that over as a cup.
Oh, I'm
but
sure he's
don't forget about our playoff participants.
So I guess the winner of the first StarLadder season
Fourth place,
is going to be
Third
StanCifka.
place, Orange,
Off to a
and
great
second
start.
place, Thijs.